What if I told you that some of your favorite movies hide secrets so dark they'll change how you see them forever? We're diving into 12 theories that turn beloved films into absolute nightmares. And trust me, you'll never watch these movies the same way again.
The Matrix. Neo never escaped. You know how Neo supposedly escapes the Matrix and saves humanity? Well, what if he never actually left at all? Think about it. Neo can somehow stop Sentinels with his mind in the real world. That's not exactly normal human behavior, right? This theory suggests that when Neo meets the Architect, he doesn't return to reality. Instead, he gets plugged into Matrix 2.0, a simulation designed for people who reject the first Matrix. Zion, the human city, the whole rebellion, it's all fake. The machines let Neo believe he was the one, while every single moment of his journey was engineered. It explains why Zion's history mysteriously resets every cycle, with zero evidence of the past. Because, surprise, Zion is also part of the simulation, wiping clean each time like a digital Etch-a-Sketch. So Neo never saved anyone. He just traded one prison for another, and the machines are probably laughing their digital heads off. The Dark Knight, Joker's military past. Heath Ledger's Joker is terrifying enough, but what if his chaos isn't random at all? What if he's actually a broken war veteran with special forces training? Even comedian Patton Oswalt jumped on this theory, and honestly, the evidence is pretty compelling. The Joker knows weapons, explosives, and interrogation tactics like he wrote the manual. In the film, he mentions a truckload of soldiers getting blown up. That's oddly specific for someone who's supposedly just a crazy clown. He rigs complex explosives, stages military precision kidnappings, and even turns the tables on Batman during interrogation. That's not luck, that's training. The theory suggests Joker is a PTSD broken soldier, or worse, a failed military experiment that cracked his mind completely. So Gotham's clown prince of crime isn't just an agent of chaos. He's what happens when the government breaks someone so badly that they become the very thing they were trained to fight. Now that's a dark origin story. Kill Bill, the bride's afterlife journey. What if Beatrix Kiddo died before her revenge saga even began? What if Kill Bill is actually about a dead woman fighting her way out of hell? Check this out. The character's name literally means Blessed Voyager, just like Beatrice in Dante's Inferno, who guides souls through heaven. When the bride gets shot at her wedding chapel, the theory suggests she actually dies right there. Everything after, waking from the coma, the revenge quest, fighting the deadly vipers, it's all her soul's journey through purgatory. Each opponent represents a different sin or trial she needs to overcome. The ultra-stylized fights, like battling the Crazy 88 or clawing out of a grave, aren't just Tarantino being Tarantino. They're metaphors for her spiritual struggles in the afterlife. When she finally kills Bill and finds peace with her daughter, it's not revenge, it's absolution. The bride wasn't just fighting for vengeance. She was literally fighting her way out of hell, one sword swing at a time. The Shining, Hotel Hell. The Overlook Hotel isn't just haunted, it's literally hell on earth. Think about the impossible architecture, the shifting layout, the evil atmosphere that seems to breathe on its own. This theory suggests Jack Torrance didn't just go crazy, he made a Faustian bargain and dragged his family straight into damnation. The evidence is everywhere once you look for it. The red and orange decor screams infernal color scheme. The impossible corridors create a metaphysical trap. And that final photograph of Jack in 1921? He's posed exactly like the Baphomet tarot card, the devil himself. In this theory, Jack isn't just a caretaker losing his mind. He's either the devil in human form, or he becomes a demon as he succumbs to the hotel's influence. The Torrances didn't vacation in the Rockies. They checked into hell, and the house devoured their souls, one room at a time. Home Alone, Kevin becomes Jigsaw. Okay, this one sounds completely insane, but hear me out. What if Kevin McAllister grows up to become Jigsaw from the Saw movies? Both characters are brilliant trap makers who love setting elaborate booby traps for their victims. Kevin might be stopping burglars, but his methods, burning doorknobs, nail traps, swinging paint cans, are basically Jigsaw's tests in training wheels. They even look similar. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and both have this weird habit of recording messages for their targets. Kevin with his talkboy, Jigsaw with his creepy tapes. The dingy bathroom in Saw 2 looks like a nightmare version of Kevin's basement, complete with that ominous furnace. Remember Kevin's paranoia about his neighbor being a serial killer? Maybe that fear festered after being abandoned and traumatized multiple times. Perhaps Kevin's psyche finally snapped, turning him into a morality-obsessed killer who tests people's will to live.
Bird Box: Angels of the Rapture.
What if the monsters in Bird Box aren't monsters at all? What if they're actually angels bringing about the rapture? This theory completely flips the script. Instead of evil entities, these beings are heavenly messengers trying to bring souls to God during the end times. When people see them and commit suicide, they're not being driven mad. They're experiencing transcendental bliss, an overwhelming urge to join the divine. It explains why victims often speak to dead loved ones or describe beautiful visions before they die. They're not hallucinating. They're being guided gently to the afterlife by actual angels. The people who don't die, the crazy ones who become homicidal, they're the ones not worthy of the rapture, left behind to serve darker purposes. In the movie, Charlie explicitly theorizes the phenomenon is biblical, tying it to Revelations. So Mallory and her companions weren't hiding from demons. They were hiding from salvation itself. The sanctuary at the blind school becomes a refuge for those determined to reject the rapture and cling to this mortal world.
The Blair Witch Project. Josh was the killer.
What if there was no Blair Witch? What if it was Josh who systematically murdered his friends? Think about the ending. Mike is found facing the wall, just like in the local legend of Rustin Parr, who killed children in pairs while making one stand in the corner. What if Josh, the first to go missing, was actually recreating this legend on purpose? Josh handled the map. What if he led them in circles intentionally? When supernatural things happened, they disproportionately involved Josh. The slime covering only his belongings, strange noises only he could hear. Maybe he was feigning fear the whole time. Perhaps Josh succumbed to madness in the woods, or was possessed by the witch's spirit, making him her proxy. By the time Heather finds Mike in the corner, Josh could be the one attacking her from behind. We never actually see a witch on camera. This theory turns the film from supernatural horror into something much darker, a tale of betrayal and human psychosis. Heather and Mike weren't consumed by a mythical witch. They were murdered by their friend. Hereditary, all in their heads. What if there was no Demon King Paimon? No supernatural curses, just the tragic legacy of severe mental illness. In this interpretation, the film is literally about the demons of schizophrenia and psychosis being passed down through the Graham family. All the occult elements, the seances, ghostly apparitions, cult rituals, are just manifestations of Annie's deteriorating mind. The clues are there. At the grief support meeting, Annie mentions her family's history of mental illness. Her schizophrenic brother claimed their mother was putting people inside him. What if that wasn't demonic possession, but symptomatic hallucinations? Annie imagined her friend Joan and the entire demon summoning plot. None of it literally happened. By the end, Peter doesn't get possessed by Paimon. He suffers a complete psychotic break induced by extreme trauma, becoming exactly what his mother predicted. The evil wasn't supernatural. It was hereditary mental illness, passed down until it destroyed the family from within. Spectre, Bond's dying hallucination. The ending of Spectre gets pretty ridiculous, right? Bond escapes brain torture, blows up a secret base with a wristwatch, shoots down a helicopter with a pistol, and rides off into the sunset. What if none of that actually happened? This theory suggests it's all Bond's dying vision as he succumbs to his injuries during Blofeld's torture. Once that drill starts scrambling his brain, everything after is pure fantasy. Bond imagining a perfect victory in his final seconds. The evidence is the sheer implausibility of it all. Madeline professes love at exactly the right moment, Bond escapes despite being strapped down, and he gets to save the day without killing Blofeld, something previous Craig films never let him do so cleanly. He even gets to retire happily with his love, a first for Daniel Craig's Bond. It all feels like wish fulfillment, a death dream giving 007 the closure he never got in reality. So Bond's final smile isn't triumph, it's tragic irony. In reality, he's dying under Blofeld's drill, but in his mind, he gets to win one last time. Back to the Future, the Marty Martyr theory. At the end of Back to the Future, when Marty returns to 1985, he sees himself take off in the DeLorean, two Martys in one timeline. The Marty-Martyr theory suggests Doc Brown eliminated one of them. Think about it. The alternate Marty who never experienced the film's events had to disappear for the timeline to work without paradox. The theory suggests Doc rigged the second DeLorean that past Marty used, ensuring it would be destroyed or sent somewhere he could never return from. Doc had read Marty's warning note about getting shot, so he was planning ahead with that bulletproof vest. If he anticipated two Martys, maybe he pre-programmed the car with coordinates to nowhere. The original Marty, the one who grew up in the improved 1985, possibly gets incinerated or stranded in time, allowing our hero Marty to take his place seamlessly. That's why nobody asks why there are two Martys. It turns lovable Doc Brown into a calculated murderer of his friend's doppelganger. Heavy indeed. And by the way, if you're enjoying these dark theories, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. Now, speaking of childhood nightmares,
Willy Wonka, the secret ingredient. What if Willy Wonka's secret ingredient is children? 4 naughty kids go into that factory, but they never visibly come back out. Sure, Wonka says they'll be okay, but the film never actually shows us. This theory suggests Wonka is a serial killer in candy maker's clothing, disposing of bad children and mixing their bodies into his confections. Augustus gets gorged in the chocolate river, Violet blown up into blueberry pulp, Veruca dropped down a garbage chute, Mike zapped into particles. What if they weren't just being punished, they were being processed? Roald Dahl's original book had an even darker tone, and early drafts hinted that children might be incorporated into the candy. One unused plot literally had a child die in the factory, with the sweetest candy made from those mean types of people. Wonka's extreme secrecy about his recipes and those morbid punishments suddenly make sense. Maybe those Oompa Loompas are singing because they know those brats are about to become dessert.
Coraline, everyone's dead. And finally, the darkest theory of all. What if everyone in Coraline's world is actually dead? This theory suggests the Pink Palace apartments are actually purgatory, and all the residents died before the story began. Mr. Babinski died of radiation poisoning. Note his blue skin and that Chernobyl liquidator medal. Mrs. Spink and Forcible died of old age, living in the past with their fading memories. Most shocking of all, Coraline's parents died in a car crash. The evidence? Her mother's neck brace and that conversation about the accident. The Pink Palace is a supernatural holding area for all these souls. The garden Coraline wants to plant represents heaven, a paradise she can't reach until her family resolves their unfinished business. The other world behind the door? That's hell, a trap set by the demonic beldam to steal souls. Coraline's victory isn't just escaping a witch. It's her and her parents finally moving on to the afterlife. In the final scene, they happily work in the garden, suggesting they've accepted their deaths and found peace. Those button eyes take on new meaning when you realize everyone was a ghost all along, and the other mother was death itself, wearing a comforting face.
So there you have it, 12 theories that turn these movies into absolute nightmares.
Which theory messed with your head the most? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more mind-bending movie content.